Right, welcome to the SE25 cast, episode number 6, and we're celebrating a win here. This week it was in the Premier League. Queen's Park Rangers 1, Crystal Palace 2. That's the ladies' Premier League, the Crystal Palace women's team, managed by Dean Davenport. So Jamebi and I are here to talk at some length about the return of Gemma Bryan, the industrious Lily Maypole, and other names that I've just read off the Palace website, try and divert our attention away from the Tottenham result. Sadly, that's the end of the diversion away from the Tottenham result, which we're going to have to talk about. But at least it's a Premier League game. Who knows how many of those we've got left? Maybe only a dozen. But I'm here with Jamebi, and we're going to hopefully take the mood upwards rather than downwards. But so Jamebi, you kick us off. Tell us what were your hopes for this game? What were you expecting us to try and get out of it?
Well, I don't know. I didn't ever expect to get anything out of it, not even a point. My next door neighbour's a Spurs fan, and we sort of had obviously the conversation before, like, how do you reckon we're going to do? And I was like, honestly, don't know, what do you reckon? And he was like, 2-0 Spurs. So I was like, I'll go with that. And admittedly, I missed the first 10, 12 minutes of the first half due to my sister forgetting her season ticket. So we were stuck outside at the box office trying to get a reprint. And by the way, you have to pay £3 for that as well. You can believe that, on top of the £480 we've already paid for the season ticket. So yeah, I don't know. By the end of the game, I was sort of happy that we was maybe going to get a point. And then when they scored, I just thought we didn't deserve the point anyway, to be fair. So you can't help but be disappointed, considering we'd done quite well really until the end. So yeah.
No, I don't disagree with that. I did remember my season ticket, so sadly I did see the first 12 minutes. And for me, there's two discussion points in that first 12 minutes. There was the Hennessy Townsend, what might charitably called miscommunication, where both of the fucktards did nothing, and the ball sailed between them. Incoming Spurs player who was paying attention nearly sneaked a goal. That must have been minute 2 or 3, and it felt, I think, for me that kind of thing set the tone for the remaining 90 minutes, or certainly about 80 of them. 10 minutes in, I was looking for anyone in a Patrick Van Aanholt shirt so I could throw something at him, because the ball dropped from fuck knows where, and he swung a leg at it in that way of, he's clearly trying to launch it to the moon, and good luck to him, because fuck knows, you don't want it anywhere else near our end of the pitch. And somehow it skids off his foot and goes straight in Harry Kane. And there was just that moment of complete disbelief as it happened. And then you realise, oh fuck, it's Harry Kane. It's not just any of them plumps in a white shirt. It is Harry Kane. And then Hennessy, who 10 minutes earlier had been in the Chuckle Brothers letting the ball go past them, pulls off some sort of worldie, and admittedly he just kind of smothered the ball in Harry Kane's feet, and out it goes for a corner. And yeah, I sound incredulous now. I had my head in my hands for so much of that game. I talked about it on here before. I take my son, who's not that old, and I have to edit my language when we're there and everything else. But this game was so hard to watch. As a Palace fan, I felt we strung so little together. There were glimpses, you know. I felt Sorloth was industrious for a bloke who's clearly a centre forward, and we're trying to get him to play as a left winger. I mean, I made notes of the various fuck ups. I couldn't bring myself to watch the highlights. I don't know if you did. Did you stick the highlights on at all?
No, even though I missed the first bit, that's all I could hear was Spurs fans and us screaming at our players. I didn't really want to look at the highlights, to be fair.
No, it took me it took me the rest of that day to get over it, and probably into a lot of this morning to just look forwards. I've not been looking forward to doing this. I don't want to look back. But I felt Sorloth wasn't bad. And I think, with the greatest will in the world, I think you're absolutely right that having any goal at any point in that match to Spurs, Harry Kane misses one at the far end. Someone else spooned one. Eriksen could have had one. If Spurs had left 4-0, the way I described it to my wife when we got home was, it was like that Sunderland game where we lost 4-0, where Sunderland banged in every one of them goals. Well, Spurs did the opposite. Spurs had plenty of chances to be 4-0 up at half time and somehow blew every single one of them. And I think it was hard to watch. I don't know. I tell you what, I am interested. I think if we cover the rest of the sad stuff before we go into the more exciting good news bits, I thought the atmosphere was pretty shit. Now, I know you sit a lot closer to the HF than I do, but I really thought it was quiet from nearly all the game. I don't think Block E got involved in one lot of big chance at all, maybe other than kickoff for the second half. I can't remember any.
Yeah, I think we thought it was weird as well, because obviously we was outside at the box office for the first 10 minutes or whatever, but we sort of were surprised at how quiet it was, even for the gravel over at the start. We was like, is it usually this quiet? Because you usually think when you're pelting out that song, that bloody you can hear us from East Croydon Station or whatever. But I thought it was on and off a bit. I think there was a lot of prejudice against the ref when he made these decisions and stuff, and it seems. I mean, when you probably watch half of the challenges back, the ref probably got the right decision. But obviously, when you're watching a game, it's hard enough to see what's going on, especially when it's down the other end. So you just follow what everyone else is doing. But there's a lot of times where I saw sort of the white horse bit at the end, just screaming and shouting as if the ref's done a crazy decision. And there was a few that you could see just where the Spurs player obviously kicks off and somehow they get a throw in, and even for their corner at the end, obviously. I know we're in the home though, we can't actually see it, but people were complaining that wasn't even a corner in the first place. It seemed like if anything went wrong and the ref didn't know what to do, it was like, oh fuck it, just give Spurs a corner. I don't really know. It's a bit weird though.
No, I'd go along with that. I try not to subscribe to the theory that the big teams often get the leniency of the refs and a bit of kind of bias, but genuinely I felt on Thursday, and I don't think it was bias in the way that he wanted Spurs to win. I felt as if when there was a 50-50 decision, fuck knows if it bounced off, two players running towards the ball, it pings around and goes off, it felt as if Spurs got more luck in those decisions than we did. But for me, the atmosphere, it was a cold day. It might have been sunny. It was bastard cold. It was like a night game. And also, I think in that first 2 minutes, from kickoff, the noise wasn't quiet, but it was maybe a little bit subdued. And then Hennessy and Townsend do that fuck up, and I think everyone sat there just, please don't be 5 or 6 today. Please, God, don't be 5 or 6. And I think it just never quite roused. Like you say, there was definitely some reminding the referee of his responsibilities. But I mean, I don't think it's a game where we're going to try and blame the ref. And don't get me wrong, I don't think that's what you're saying. But this is where I think it's a great little segue into some of the better stuff. The Lino picking up foul throws on whatever his name, Serge Aurier, was hilarious.
Yeah, that was jokes. And it was to the stage where Palace fans are like, oh, when he's about to throw it in, and that was just brilliant.
Yeah, I haven't seen the highlights. I don't know if you saw him. When I think it was in the second half, when obviously we didn't get much down their goal in the second half anyway. But I don't know if you saw the 2 or 3 bloke on the half a weight giving him just tons of stick when he come down to take a throw. They're doing mimicking throws, all kind of fucking hilarious. And
I didn't actually see that.
Mate, I'm gonna have to. I'll see if I can find it somewhere, and I'll get Alex or someone to post it with the rest of the pod links at the bottom. But Yeah, it was fucking hilarious. And then, like you said, the first one was funny. The second one was funnier because he reacted. He was fucking hopping up and down mad at himself and the lines. And then the third one, when the crowd were getting in on it, was brilliant.
Yeah.
By the end of the third one, Pochettino comes flying out of his dugout, and it was one of those moments where you're like, okay, this is brilliant. We're at 43 minutes. As long as we don't let a goal in now, this is actually quite enjoyable. Maybe it's not fun in the sense that we're winning or we can score or we look like we actually know how to play football, but I'm enjoying myself. It's like being at a kid's party. It's all right. Now,
yeah, a little chance.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the one thing that I did take away from the game as proper positives, maybe I've said the one thing, and it's for me, it's probably two things, if not three things. The weakest of them, I thought Van Aanholt had a decent game. He did miskick the ball. It went to Harry Kane, which fucking an abortion of a kick, but these things happen. But I thought, actually, considering the quality of the players he was up against, I thought he did a decent shift. And I think particularly as well with Selhurst in front of him. Selhurst was good, considering he's a centre forward playing as a left winger, and that's not easy for Pat. That's not an easy. If you've got Townsend in front of you, I think that's got to be an awful lot easier than having Selhurst in front of you.
Yeah, I think with going back on with Selhurst and Van Aanholt, I think he's playing out of position. He should be in the centre. And what a couple of people around me were talking about is, why don't they just move like both Selhurst and Benteke in? And to be honest, in the first half, it was all going through Townsend anyway. It was always Townsend that was crossing to the stage where like the left-hand side was basically doing nothing in terms of getting it, because you just feel for Selhurst because he gets the ball and then he's just completely out of position because he's not really supposed to be playing there. They might as well have just put him in the centre and just ran it up with Townsend. And if Van Holt or MacArthur got lucky enough to run up the left, then fair enough. But yeah, I would agree with Van Aanholt having a pretty decent game. And I know he had that slip near the end, and I thought, damn, he just looked like he was completely dead, but he obviously recovered from that. So yeah.
Yeah, I liked that slip. Was I got my little note here as well. Did Van Aanholt smash his face on the turf, get upset, or was he just embarrassed from falling over and needed to lie down just to kind of compose himself? Where are you falling on that side?
I don't know, because I remember I was actually explaining it to my sister as well, because I'm not a footballer or anything, but I do play five-a-side with work on most Mondays, and stuff like that would actually hurt. Like if he did actually hit his head, you would probably just want to do a bit of both. Like you think, damn, I look like a fucking idiot in front of all these thousands of people, and two, that actually hurt, and then you're just sort of like, well, I might as well just lie here for a sec. But at the same time, like the play didn't actually stop, so if he wasn't like actually injured, which obviously he probably wasn't, he might have just been a bit like shaken, but he might as well have just got back up. It's just, we're just like 10 men if you're on the floor like that. But yeah.
No, I don't disagree. For me, it was one of those where, like you say, if you've done that kick, if you are the person that's either smashed the back of your head or your face on the ground, it does fucking hurt. But you do feel a cunt as well. You absolutely feel a bellend. But yeah, I'm erring on the side of Pat maybe only got mediocre hurt and just played it up because he didn't want to look as much of a plum as he could have done. But then I think moving on from that, we've talked very, very slightly there about Selhurst. The one thing we didn't include that was also on the left-hand side of the pitch for most of the game was Riedewald. How did you think he did?
I don't think he played as well as he has done for us. I know at the start of the season he was just, I don't know, he was new, obviously he was getting used to it, and obviously he's had some training and stuff, and there's been a couple of games that he's played and you just think, bloody hell, what happened to you? It's like Hodgson gave him a kick up the arse. But I felt, and this is not just him, there was a lot of players doing it by the end, like sort of the second half, really, it got worse and worse. Everyone just panics, and him especially. As soon as he gets a ball, he just bangs it. It's like it doesn't matter where it goes. Selhurst was doing it as well, to be fair. There was plenty of players that got the ball and just thought, fuck, I shouldn't have the ball, let's just bang it. And you just think, just hold the ball for more than like 10 seconds and we wouldn't have such a shit possession. But no one wants to be the, I don't know if this is just a Selhurst thing where they don't want to be the bad guy, you know, like they're the one who lost the ball or something. So they just bang it and they lose it anyway. So you might as well just get tackled with it. So yeah, what did you think of Ryder Wool?
It's interesting. Your view's similar to mine, but mine was kind of more. I looked at the panic as I think Spurs played a really intelligent game. They played better than us in every single aspect of how a football match can be measured. And one of the ways I think that you can look at Spurs as being different, essentially better, they pressed every player in every position. And I think you could see certain players like Riedewald, possibly Bissaka, but I'll talk about him in a minute. But we had a bunch of players who didn't want to be caught in possession facing their own goal, particularly. And I think Riedewald you'd look at and say he didn't want to be in possession anywhere. He was quite happy putting in a good, up and down box to box shift. He was quite happy making a tackle. He was quite happy making lots of little triangles and trying to be useful. But when he got the ball, there was no Kabaye. And unless Luca was there, MacArthur isn't quite the same as Luca and Kabaye and wasn't just giving him a permanent outlet. And because Sorloth is anything a winger, he wasn't giving him a lot of outlets either. Pat wants to bomb forward. So I felt for Riedewald. He definitely wasn't as good as he had been. I don't think he was terrible. I think particularly when you look at Moussa Dembele as a player for Spurs who was composed the entire game. Lamela, when he got on the ball, was composed, wasn't in a rush, was making stuff happen. Eriksen the same. If you looked at our three, only Luca had any semblance of playing like a Spurs player. MacArthur and Riedewald, for me, weren't really at the races. MacArthur isn't that kind of player anyway. He's not going to stand there with his head up, find him 5 little passes to make an intricate bit of space. I like Riedewald. I think he's clearly one who, hopefully it won't happen, but will be good in the Championship. And yeah, I think Spurs was just maybe a level too far for him. Ajax is a decent club and the Eredivisie is a reasonable league, but I think some of these games against proper top-class opposition, playing well, it is hard. Some of these players that aren't perhaps top draw. Let's get to. I'm gonna, unless you particularly want to talk about Benteke or Sorloth, I think we've probably covered as much as we need to cover with them too.
Yeah, I think it's just not really much to mention with Benteke. He's more. There's a couple of chances he had, but I don't know. It's just the same thing every time. I mean, there's a little story actually. Someone behind me in the homestead, I was actually cracking up. He was saying that one of his mates, when Benteke missed a penalty at Bournemouth, he was like, there's a million different insults you could shout at a player. And apparently, he just called him a fat shit. And he was just like, you could call him anything, but calling him a fat shit is probably the worst insult because it's not fat at all.
Yeah.
But he was just saying like every time, there was a couple of times where he'd done some things and he just got this guy calling him a fat shit just to take the piss. And it was just funny. But yeah, I think, we've probably covered Sorloth anyway and Benteke. I mean, it's the same old story most of the time, isn't it?
No, absolutely. I think for me, if any of you who are listening are interested in a review of how Christian Benteke played, I would listen to the 5 parts in this series. It wasn't anything. And Sorloth, I thought, played really well. Do you know who Sorloth reminded me of? And I feel this is probably a lack of originality on my part. But Ruben Loftus-Cheek, he got the ball and he wanted to do something with it. And he has the ability and the drive to actually drive that ball up the pitch, be strong, hold on to it, but he has no one else around him to help him. And there were times where Benteke's looking at it like it's Townsend, and he's drifting across the pitch with his arm up, thinking, "Yeah, ping a 25-yard ball on my head." And you're thinking, "No, mate, that's like you on the ball. He's not going to do that. Looking for you to come short and just do something simple."
Yeah.
But I felt Sorloth, again, whether he stays next season, we're in the Championship, or he stays next season, we're in the Premier League. We've got a decent player there. He may not be 25 goals a season in the Premier League, but I'm not disappointed. I'm at the point, actually, if we had wingers, because we had Kirby on the bench and Lakilo, I'd actually rather have seen Benteke go off at 60 minutes, Lakilo go on, and we play Sorloth up top. But there's a load of stuff around that why it doesn't work. And I think Roy, the manager, made the right decision, because if you take Sorloth off or Benteke, you're 1 9-foot heading machine for defensive set pieces missing. And Benteke was great at clearing Spurs corners. Sorloth was a handful for them in his defensive capacity. I think he was breathing out of his arse by 80 minutes. But anyway, we've covered them enough. But
just one thing about Benteke actually before we go. I swear he had a really, really, really good clearance near the end as well, off the line with him and Hennessy fucking up, and then the people were saying, yeah, I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, I don't think he was bad. Like I say, I think in recent weeks nobody would begrudge Benteke a goal. I thought he played a really nice ball through for Sorloth. Sorloth couldn't get the ball out of his feet onto his left foot. I think if Palace had a penalty there, it would have been a harsh one for Spurs, but another day it happens. I thought they played reasonably well together, but he's not a winger. Benteke's not really the player who's playing off the shoulder of the last man, so it is what it is. We've got more players injured than fit, and this is what we're left with. Let's talk about something good. Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I was pleased to be a Palace fan. Let me give you, you weren't in the stadium when he walked on the pitch, but the loudest cheer as the names were read out and as the players were taking up their position, definitely Bissaka. And I think great that 2018 we've got £1 players, we've got with big reputations, global kind of brands like Kabaye, and so he's only young. He's come out of the academy, and it got a bigger cheer than anyone. And every time he did something right, the crowd gave him the praise that was due. And I don't think he made a proper mistake in the game. There was one that was that you and I talked about before we hit record. But I genuinely, he was industrious, he was attentive, he was all the things he should have been. And I don't think we'd have been worse off with Joel Ward, and I think we potentially would have been worse off with Sumenta as right back, because he was definitely more disciplined and well positioned than Timmy would have been. What did you think of Mr. Bissaka?
Yeah, I thought he was definitely the bright spark in the team for most of it, really. There was times where you think anyone else wouldn't have gone in for that challenge or whatever. He just seemed to be, sort of what you were saying, in the right place. And considering I didn't know he was 20, I knew he was young, but I just Googled it there. And for a 20-year-old, I mean, he just done well. He was constantly, I know it was probably he wants to show that he's good for one of his first games in the first team or whatever, but he just seemed well up for it, constantly chasing balls. But there was times where you look at him, you just think he's exhausted. I don't think it was like what we were talking about earlier. It's not the best first game, if you know what I mean, with someone like Tottenham, where they're just up for it and pressing everything. So, but yeah, I thought, wouldn't mind if he played again at all. So yeah, he done all right.
Excellent. Yeah, no, for me I was exactly the same. I thought he was a real bright spark to. He was definitely the. I think just in case anybody didn't watch the game, you and I had the good fortune to 9 minutes of our lives there. The last 5 minutes for me were it was a cup final nearly. The cup final was one of the greatest sort of 2 minutes of my life. This was very close to that, in that 85 minutes gone, you're thinking, actually, this genuinely, we might actually do this. Tompkins pulls up on whatever it was, 84 minutes, with what looked like cramp or a pulled muscle, and you're thinking, can't be a pulled muscle this far in, surely it's not. And Roy's got a decision at this point. He's got Soiree and Delaney on the bench, and the kind of hubbub through the Homesdale was just a variety of different, I would consider to be low-level swears, followed by either Dame or Delaney or fucking Damien Delaney as a complete sentence. As you saw him take his jacket off, go for a jog, come back up, take the bib off. No. Because for me, clearly Roy doesn't put him on the pitch, but do you subscribe to the Roy Hodgson? If Tompkins gets injured and we lose him for 4 or 5 games, if Damo comes on and does a Damo, we lose 1 point, but we've got Tompkins for the next month. Where are you on this issue?
I don't think it's a bit of a. I don't know if my sister's ever going to listen to this, but I'm going to give her a shout out for. I know we're probably known for having these bad shirts now, but she had Mrs. Delaney on the back of hers at one point. So I'll give her a shout out for that because I haven't seen that for a while now, to be honest, actually. So
hidden in the wardrobe.
It's probably in the bin by now, I think, after that one as well. But yeah, I mean, I know I sort of jumped on the Discord, I sort of always do it in the games, like jump in and out of the Discord, just see what people are saying. And I know when Delaney came on, I was waiting for Neocast's comment in the thing, and people were just going like, "Oh God!" And then like what we said before, like you can't really see too much there. I wouldn't have blamed Delaney at all for the goal because I couldn't even see it anyway. But when I saw after, everyone was sort of blaming him and Hennessy and stuff. But yeah, I think it's like someone said on the sub actually as well. Like these games, like Tottenham, and I know we've obviously got United next, and then Chelsea. It's like realistically at the start of the season, are we ever going to expect to take even a point out of these games? But when you go sort of 88 minutes nearly without like conceding, it's gutting at the end of that, So yeah, I'm sort of I'd keep Tompkins, I guess, but it's gutting even for Delaney as well because it's not like he's thinking, "Oh fuck this, I can lose us a point now when I come on." He doesn't mean to do it, they're all playing for the team, but yeah, it's not good to see.
No, I'm with you 100% on all that because Damo is like a proper warrior. We've all seen Damo for the last like 5 years. Joined in 2010, didn't he? So he's had 7-8 years with us, and he doesn't like coming second. He clearly doesn't enjoy being a squad player without playing. He stuck 2 fingers up fairly publicly to Trapattoni with the Republic of Ireland because he was being called up and not playing. And it's one of those things that I think, I feel for Damo. I think it would have been a smarter decision at the end of the season to say, thanks, but I'm not going to take that last year. And Alice, you need to go find another, Breda Hangeland or whoever for a year or 2. And comes on because he is that kind of player. He's not fast, but he's never been that terrible of a centre back. I'm like, well, that's fine because if Hung Son or whoever comes flying past him, so be it. He's not fast, but Damo should be able to make up for it positionally. And then when the fucking goal goes in, and I've only watched it back once. I think I watched that same replay about 4 times because it just was unbelievable. He does seem to try to get the ball. He doesn't seem to care. And then the thing and obviously I only saw it once, obviously in real life at the game. The bit that struck me was there was a fella behind me who's going, that's Delaney. That's fucking Delaney straight away. And I'm like, to me, it just looked like a player's, and I didn't know whose fault. But the one thing that did strike me with Damo was as the players are walking back to the centre circle, he's doing the big fucking, "Come on, lads, come on, we can do this." And you're thinking, no, really? Like 1 minute left the game. Let's just not let another one in and fucking a goal difference because we're not going to get it, but, maybe. And then to see Damo not doing anything for the corner and then seeing him trying to GF one up, it just blows my mind completely. Anyway, you mentioned United. Let's talk about how we're going to steal 3 points in that one. Neither of us can remember Palace beating United in the Premier League. I think we both remember the Darren Ambrose rocket. But I mean, do you think Mourinho is going to turn up and come for a win, or is he going to turn up, do his let's not let a goal in, and we'll play out what a really acceptable 0-0 stalemate?
It's funny you should say that, actually, because I know we were speaking before. My cousin and my uncle are both United fans, and I speak to my cousin quite a lot. He's like interested in how Palace are doing and stuff, and then I speak about United. And even though they beat Chelsea, it was 2-1 right in. I was like, I didn't even see their result because I was basically, as soon as I come back from Palace, I was forced to drink, obviously, after a result like that. So I was just drinking, not even worrying about the football. But he basically said it was a shit game. United are so boring and stuff. I know it was against Chelsea, but I got a feeling he's going to do the same thing. Seeing how we done against Tottenham, I know, like we said, Tottenham might have had about 3 or 4 goals really, and they just didn't put them away. But I don't think you can in the Premiership anyway. Go to whatever game, like even the worst team at the moment at West Brom. If we went there, we're not going to play a weak team or anything. We're going to play our best team and go at them, So I got a feeling he's going to be careful, especially with Palace, because we're one of them teams, especially like the Liverpool 3-3 and stuff like that. I know we haven't got the players at the moment, but I don't think you can ever like just brush someone aside in the Premier League, regardless of how they're doing, because one mistake or if you get too cocky, they're just going to shut you up, basically. So I got a feeling he's going to be careful.
Yeah, I think the same. I think if you look at that table, no one's going to catch City. So all he's trying to do is not drop out of the top 4. And it's a lot more important for United to take a point than it is to take nothing.
Yeah.
They've got Liverpool 2 points behind them. Tottenham 4 points behind United, obviously 2 points further behind Liverpool, and Chelsea another 2 points back. So he's got 10 games to go, and he's already got a 6-point cushion over 5th. If he keeps that at a plus 4 points or more, they can't make that up in one game. That's 2 losses United have to do and 2 wins Chelsea have to do. So if he keeps draws and wins, that's going to see him in the Champions League. And it's kind of irrelevant Mourinho finishes 2nd or 4th. So I think if you're Mourinho, particularly with the kind of defence they've got, they are susceptible to Benteke headers, probably more so than someone trying to beat De Gea from 30 yards. I look at it as, United are going to turn up. They're going to throw everything they've got at us, but they're not going to throw it in a way that's going to leave them with one at the back because they're so desperate to get a result. Where I think there was aspects of Spurs where you could see Spurs getting frustrated by Palace, and at times they had just Eric Dyer at the back, Eric Dyer or Davinson Sanchez, and that was Spurs. I don't think you'll see United play like that. I really don't, and I think I would bet on a 0-0, and I don't see us getting a cheeky 1-0, but I don't think we're going to get turned over 4 or 5 against United. I really don't. Having said that, that all depends on James Tompkins' not injury, staying and not injury, and potentially Sacco coming back. Now, again, I'm kind of glad it's a Monday because it gives our players a fighting chance of maybe another day's rest, going through our injuries back. But yeah, I think we've got Sacco as a maybe back. And not sure if we've got anyone else on the maybe coming back side of that, but we are properly fucked for injury.
Yeah, it's been pretty bad, and I have to give a shout out to my boy as well. I know I do it every thing, but seeing Chungy come on for the last 3 minutes. And to be fair, I think his first touch was just horrific as well. And I was like, oh, don't do this to me. I can't. He was sort of on the side, and then he just kicked it, and it went straight to a Spurs player or something, or went out. And I was just like, oh, for God's sake, man! You know, like you get your little 5 minutes to try and do something. But saying that, he came on the 87th minute, and then a minute later they had scored. So I don't know if he's just a bad omen.
Yeah, I mean, you seem like a perfectly nice young man. I fucking hate Chungy. I think he's terrible. The fellow I sit next to at Palace, like, oh, I like Chungy, and come on now, and yeah, his first touch was abysmal, completely terrible. Apparently, Martin Kelly might be back as well.
That's all right.
Yeah, again, he's not going to set the world on fire, but he's all right.
Yeah, he's definitely improved from when he was getting basically slated every game. He doesn't deserve that anymore. I don't think, anyway.
Yeah, and I think it looks like Schlupp might be back as well. Now, I think if we can get Schlupp and Patrick back left with, I mean, I've got to say, we talked about this to death last time. I would absolutely be playing Soiree at the back with Patrick in front of him. We've got Lakilo on the bench. Do that. I think that is, but anyway, I'd love to see us do something different against United. I'd love to see us just. Mourinho loves to be prepared, and I think if you can do something to make his preparation count for less, you never know. I mean, they've not got a brilliant team. They've definitely got some weaknesses in that team, and we've got to get at least 2 goals before Jesse Lingard comes on and scores, or can Alexis Sanchez bangs in goals. God knows who it's going to be, but yeah, I do not want to see Pogba dabbing his way across Selhurst. That would really upset me.
Yeah.
The only thing I think we haven't talked about, and this is probably better informed Palace fans than us. Were you expecting to see Rakip run out? He was on the bench. Were you expecting to see the Polish lad, Yakoslav, the fellow with the comb over the Mohican?
Yeah, it's funny. Another thing that sort of the guys around me in Block C were talking about as well, and the Rakip, but definitely, like, I know he's been playing with the youth team as well, like, just to get run around and stuff, and you just wonder, like, are they really that unfit to not even come in instead of Chung? Like, even instead of Chungy, like, just bring him on to just to really set foot on the pitch on a normal game. Just give him a good reception. Everyone would cheer them on. Like, like, I just don't really understand. But then again, we're not being paid millions to manage the team, are we? So we can sort of like huff and puff about it and wonder why. But I'm sure Roy knows what he's doing, and there's a reason why they're not coming on. Otherwise, they would come on, I assume.
No, exactly. I don't want to sound like one of those Arsenal TV talking heads, but I don't get why we signed the Polish fella who was fit when we signed him, and now we're not playing him. And I absolutely, for me, you bring Rakip on. Spurs have never seen him play. They've got no idea what he's going to do. And with Chungy coming on, I mean, literally just let him run about. I get the logic, perhaps, that okay, it's 0-0. 5 minutes to go, fresh pair of legs, so that if Chungy gets the ball, he can just run for the corner flag. Brilliant. But I mean, how much faster is Chungy really than Rakip? Or, Rakip not speaking English? I don't really see that it's going to be that much of a disaster if he has to shout pass in Norwegian or Dutch or whatever he speaks, than, sticking his hand up and shouting it in English. Take Damo as an example. I'd much rather have had that Polish lad come on with a point to prove to try and get in the first team than Damo, who wasn't even looking at the ball as he was jumping for it. So,
yeah,
I mean, okay, maybe he'd have given away a penalty, maybe he'd have fucked up something worse, maybe he'd have got sent off, but I can't see how it would have been worse. But I say I'm with you on this. I tend to defer to the manager. It's not some absolute fucking shithead. It is Roy Hodgson, who should know what he's doing by this point. He's only been doing it longer than you and I have been alive. So
Yeah.
it's yeah. Well, it's been a hard pod to be upbeat for, but I think if we are looking for silver lining, we can talk about a foreign mass yet to return to or yet to break into the first team with Rakip and Yakaslakek. Wan-Bissaka was brilliant. Wan-Bissaka was proper good enough to I'd keep him in the team for even if Joel Ward's back. Let him have a run against United. He was good enough. He earned it. I'll tell you what the other point I was gonna make up if I finish the roundup. So we signed this goalie, whatever his fucking name is, Carlos Calaviero or whatever it is. He comes out of Fluminense. He's mates with Roy from back at Liverpool. Do you drop him in the team ahead of Hennessy, or do you just have him on the bench, dicking around at Copa's coat, showing off Instagram pictures of Brazilian hottie to his new friend?
To be honest, I don't really know much about him at all, but I've always had a little bit of I don't know, I've always kind of liked Hennessy, and it's only recently where I'm really starting to get a bit pissed off. But I remember when we played Liverpool away last season, and I think I was the only one who was still singing Wayne Hennessy, and he was doing all right and stuff, and you could just see people around me were just like, "What are you doing?" And a few of them were getting on it, and a few of them were just like, "Shut up, man!" But then obviously we won the game and stuff. But I mean, even at that Tottenham game, he done that mad save out of nowhere near the end. I don't know what minute it was, obviously because we're further down, but it was just going near the corner, and suddenly he just flings over and saves it and stuff.
Yeah. Was it the Trippier header or Eric Dyer or somebody? He had no right to save that.
No, it was going in, going in. So yeah, I mean, it's like what you said though earlier. I know you said that he just pulled off a worldie. That was when I was still outside, but it's stuff like that. And that Chelsea game from last season, I know I've said it before on the pod, but it's just I think I said there's someone on the sub actually who basically, I think in the end I got upvoted on it, but I think most people were just like, yeah. I think someone said, is he ever going to give us another point or something? I was like, yeah, he's going to do another Chelsea and we'll get 3 points off them. But
you see, that was always my thing with Sacco. I was absolutely the only Bakary Sacco fan for a long time in the sub. The only reason I wasn't giving up any hope on him was I was at the Chelsea game. That was the Chelsea game at the Bridge that we won 2-1. Wardy scored the goal. Wickham got the other one. But Bakary Sacco was the engine of the Palace team that entire game. He was up and down, he was defending, he was strong, he was fucking everywhere. And I kind of always felt, if he can just replicate that, if he can just become that player again. And, it took 5 different managers and 2 seasons later. But I know what you mean about Hennessy. We all watched Euro 2016, where he was pretty much goalie of the tournament. And we all remember when he was young enough, he's like 30 now. But when he was at Wolves that first time around, when they were in the Premier League, he was good. He wasn't a bad signing when we got him. He was perhaps a little bit uninspiring, but he wasn't bad. See, I'm with you on this. There's a bit of me that's, I like Wayne. He come out the other day saying he liked it when the fans were singing his name. I think he's off in the summer. I think he's, playing for a contract, God knows where. Because fuck me, if you watch him, you wouldn't sign him. But I don't think it's necessarily in Roy's nature to bring in the new goalie and just drop him straight in the team. But the way that he brought Speroni in did make me think, he doesn't like Hennessy.
Yeah.
He clearly, I think he subscribes to that thing, and this is where there's an irony because he played Joe Hart so many games at England. But when your goalie doesn't inspire confidence in defence, I do think Roy subscribes to that, and I think he wants a player a bit like Speroni that the team are all happy with. But then you get those Scott Dan and Speroni moments where they might trust each other, but maybe they just aren't good enough together, which is why you have a Hennessy. But mate, supporting Palace is a challenge.
Yeah, it's becoming a bit of a headache. Just before we finish as well, I don't know if you was going to do a roundup. It might be worth us speaking about. I know we did sort of mention the top of the table, but for like more doom and gloom, we're not doing too well anymore. Obviously, you've got Southampton on 27 and Swansea on 27, along with us, and we're basically only out of the relegation zone by goal difference at the moment. So I know West Brom sort of look pretty bad, and I mean Stoke are only on 26, but they're only 1 point behind us. So I know I was sort of mentioned earlier that like Tottenham, United, Chelsea were not really the games that we were thinking of bringing points home, but it's unless we start winning or at least getting a couple of points here and there, we're gonna be in the championship next season. Really, I don't know what you're thinking.
No, absolutely. We've got, and I've been boring about this before on the sub. You've got to get, and I forget what it is because it changes as you go, but basically you've got to get 7 points from every 5 games. That's to be mid-table. A point a game isn't enough. You've got 7 points out of every 5 games. So there's obviously 38 games a season. 7 5s are 35, plus you've got 3 carrying on. If you can get to that kind of average, you're clearly going to be heading towards 50 points. The problem we've got now, like you're absolutely right, we needed points in those last few games. We needed points. And this, sadly for us, is 2 points dropped, because if you and I lined up 11 Spurs play against 11 Palace players to play for 3 minutes, the 87th, 88th, 89th minute, what do? You don't expect to lose a game in 3 minutes. I mean, the irony is that fucking Hennessy and Townsend abortion was in the first 2 minutes, so there's always on. But Palace should have been able to keep a clean sheet once it's got to that point. Literally 11 men behind the ball. But as we know this season, with Zaha's late flourishes, it is possible to win a game in those, and we should have let it slip. I think when you look around, I think West Brom are pretty much done. They are 7 points off safety. That's 3 wins. They've got wins. Their last one has been 4 losses. They haven't won. Is it something like they certainly haven't won this calendar year, and they haven't won in something like 10 to 20 games. So they are done.
Yeah, something ridiculous.
Stoke, they're 26 points. They haven't lost in the last 2, so they'll be reasonably confident. Swansea, I don't know what to expect from Swansea. They got 3 wins out of their last 5. You take those 9 points away, they'd be worse than West Brom. If you turn those into draws, they'd still be down there with West Brom. Our last 5 is 3 losses and 2 draws, with our last 2 obviously being 2 losses. Absolutely, we're 2 points out of our last 5, not 7. The minimum for us now is 5 points out of 5 games. And if you look at the teams above us, Southampton have got 6 points out of the last 5. Newcastle 6 out of the last 5. Huddersfield 6 out of the last 5. West Ham 5 out of the last 5. Brighton, they can fuck off. And Bournemouth is 8 out of the last 5. If we'd got 5 out of our last 5, we'd be on 30 points and chilled out. And I think that for me, that's the difference. It's those 3 losses. We needed one of those to be a win, or we needed one of the draws to be a win, and even have 4 points out of our last 5. But we are cruising on thin ice for these last 10 games. But there are 10 games. I'm not a big fan of people saying our last few games are easy, because if our last few games are easy, we'd have teams like Burnley, Leicester, Everton, Watford, Bournemouth. They're all going to not finish in Europe. They're all not going to get relegated, and they'll be switching off as soon as they hit. Like Burnley, I suspect, have switched off, similar to Palace under that Pardew season, where we've done well in the first half of the season. we've had our win off
Yeah.
Burnley. Leicester, I think we've got Leicester coming up, haven't we, at some point? So that's not a bad one. Everton,
Yeah,
we let them
that's
bang us. That was a bad one. Watford, we've got Bournemouth coming up. We've got Brighton coming up. Brighton, I don't think it matters. Form goes out the window with that. And then those games against Huddersfield and Stoke and West Brom, they really are going to be 6-pointers for us. West Brom will be relegated by then, which may help us out. It's probably going to be Gareth Barry's last ever fucking Premier League game. So I'm sure someone will decide to smash us 4-0. But yeah, for me, we've got to get 3 wins together out of the next 6 or 7. And I can't see where they're easily coming from. I mean, our next, what have we got?
It's Chelsea, United, then Chelsea, then Huddersfield.
Then Liverpool.
Yeah, I'm going to Huddersfield. Well, I've got the train ticket. I haven't got the match ticket yet, so I'm hoping that I get the match ticket. I thought it's going to be a bit disappointing going up there for nothing.
Yeah. But you see, I think if you look at those 4 games, and again, being optimistic, you look at 4 games, can we get 4 points out of those 4 games? It's unlikely we're going to draw every game, but we could sneak a win in one of these and then take a point in another one. And that's how really we've got to approach these. I don't see Liverpool as being. It's a bit like Spurs. They're a little bit too clever for us. They're high tempo play, lots of quick passing. That's not easy for Palace. But I look at Chelsea and United. If we could nick 3 points off one of them, that would ease the pressure. And then you go into Huddersfield thinking, right, okay, you just got to not lose. If we go into Huddersfield having 30 points and they've got 30 points, take that David Wagner aside, you explain to him, look, we all just need a point. Everyone's happy.
Yeah, I'd like to see us win, obviously, going up there. But I mean, I'm not sure if we've spoke about this in the pod, but a lot of people at my work have sort of been like, "Oh, you lot are going down and all this," and I just think, I mean, I'd be gutted to go down, but at the same time, it'd be a bit of an experience for me because I haven't been to a lot of the stadiums in the Championship, if you know what I mean. So I'd try my hardest to get an away season ticket or go to every away game I possibly could, and just hopefully we'd bounce straight back up. But I couldn't see that happening either. But I don't think it's all doom and gloom going down to the Championship. But obviously, I'd love to stay up in the Premier if we can. So just see what happens.
Yeah, I'm not going to throw my hat into that too much because I was the knob on the sub who suggested we'd be going down before the first game of the season because I felt our squad wasn't up to it and I felt our manager wasn't up to it. Our manager's changed, and based on our January business, I still don't think our squad's up to it. But the one thing I think we have at the moment is we have a terribly thin squad that is really showing its weaknesses at the moment. And if we can get to a point where that's all done, and we've got Schlupp come back, we've got Sacco come back, we've got Martin Kelly come back, and actually we can make some substitutions and we can go for 90 minutes, 95 minutes. Zaha's going to be back in a couple of weeks. Maybe we can change something up front. Loftus-Cheek's not going to be back for a little while yet, but if there's something we can do, maybe with Rakip, who knows? Nia Kirby got on the bench the other day. I'd love to see Nia get a run out. I think particularly against some of these teams where, Bakayoko at Chelsea's had a torrid time. Matic at United hasn't been brilliant. Maybe Nia Kirby with that half second longer on the ball that he's going to get in some of those games before he's got Matic kicking through him. Maybe, I'd love to see him given a go, and I'm not expecting a lot of points from those games, but we do have to get a point somewhere, or do go down. And as someone who's lived through more relegations than I'd care to remember, it isn't terrible. You will have invariably come back, or in that first season or two, you do get a great chance to come back. So And I genuinely think we'll have a reasonable team in the championship. We'd lose some of our more exciting names that attract the crowd. But no, I think we'd be all right. And I think, I think we'd have a decent chance of coming back up, particularly with players like Selhurst. If we can keep them hanging around, then we'd be doing all right. I mean, Hennessy wouldn't be terrible in the championship. Martin Kelly wouldn't be terrible. Wan-Bissaka wouldn't be terrible. Suarez wouldn't be terrible. So there's the basis of a reasonable team there if we can keep it together. But obviously, priority is to try and avoid relegation completely, and hopefully we can do that. And I still think we're not in a bad position. I mean, don't forget we were so far behind, and we're still here with a pretty reasonable chance of staying up. Just have to somehow turn these kind of bits of poor fortune. I don't feel like we've had a lot of luck this season. Maybe a couple of those penalties were lucky. I was, the people on Reddit were talking about Dele Alli diving. They were saying he wasn't diving and it's all unfair. And then the little bit of match of the day that I saw, a little snippet on the BBC website was the twat that used to play for Newcastle talking to Shearer, what's his name, Genus, saying that it was all very much a Dele Alli shouldn't dive and that he was tricking the ref. So I think in that regard, maybe we are getting some luck, but it's been a while since we've had, one going off the arse of Benteke or Townsend shank one and it goes in one of the corners. So hopefully we start getting a little bit of luck soon. And, at the moment we need to get some of these boys on the sub rather to, update the sidebar. But I'm sure they're all just waiting until we start winning some games and it starts being improved.
Sure.
Do you know what I meant to ask you? And I'm going to leave this in the pod because I think it's interesting for those who maybe don't go or don't have a season to talk about. Have you been issued your renewal for the next season?
Nah, I'm not 100% what's going on about that because there was rumours that the HF wanted to move over to Block E, but then there was other people saying something about the safe standing stuff. So I think they're just reviewing stuff, I guess. I don't understand what's happening. So obviously I got that email as well saying that you can't renew for the lower homestyle as of yet. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, because we obviously we got the same email, and I can see them moving the HF to Block E, but I don't think it would be very popular. I mean, obviously it would depend how they did it, but I don't think many of the people in Block E would be very happy. There's a significant discontent at the thought of it out of the Block E massive. That's the kind of middle class 50+ brigade that lurk in Block E with us in it. It's interesting. I'll be gutted if they move the HF to the middle and we get kicked out because we've sat in those seats from literally since that was first built. We've sat there every season, so I'll be really fucked off if they do that. And so far, I've been quite pro Steve and his Palace 2010 mates. But yeah, if they evicted us out the seats so the HF could move, I'd be less favourable.
Yeah, I don't think it would be based on that as well, because I did think that. But obviously, I know like last season and the season before, like we had our seats in the middle of them in Block B, and it was just horrific. You just never got your seat. And I know exactly what will happen is they'll move over to Block E, and then all their mates and stuff will come and sit with them, and they'll sort of just spread out around them blocks. And I just imagine there being fights there and stuff based on people just not having their seats. I mean, me and my sister were blown away. Obviously, like I said, we was out in the box office for 10 minutes, and we got there on the 12th minute, and our seats were there. And we're just like, oh my God, our seats are there. No one's actually sat in our bloody seats. And it shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't be happy that your seat's there. It should just be without question. But if we're still in Block B, we might as well have just not bothered going to our seats at that point, or be ready for a fight to get into our seats. That's the only thing that I could see pissing people off, especially if they're not used to that sort of thing. I mean, like they're all good, like singing and stuff. With they got the drum and then they keep the atmosphere up and stuff. And I don't know how much better it will be in the middle anyway. But I don't know if they want to try and inspire the rest of the blocks around them. But I don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, I've no idea, and I've no idea whether it could be to do with safe standing, which would probably make a lot of people happy. I think for me, if kind of blocks A, B, C were given safe standing as a trial, I'd be reasonably supportive of that. I'd go with a child. I wouldn't particularly want safe standing put in block E, but maybe we'd be fine. My first matches that I went to, I was standing up and I used to sit on a barrier. So, my dad found a way of making it work for us, and maybe we can do the same. But yeah, I'd quite like just to renew my season ticket in my seat and continue doing what we've always done. But yeah, no one likes a change. And perhaps on that topic we can end it, because I don't want to change the Premier League for the Championship, and I don't want to change Palace always finishing above Brighton. I would like to change Christian Benteke not scoring. Yeah, and I think that's probably a nice end for this pod, because up the Palace and fuck Brighton.
Sounds good.